What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Our first question this week comes from Moro Balaz, who asks, what happened to the Tantive IV after it was captured? The short answer is, it was destroyed. That was confirmed in canon by a reference book called Star Wars Ships of the Galaxy, and right now that's all we know. But in Legends we got a few more details. Imperial propaganda falsified some report from a survey vessel that claimed that the Tantive was destroyed in an asteroid storm. And yes, that is how you pronounce Tantive. I myself prefer Tantive. I always called it the Tantive IV, but Lucasfilm has come out and said Tantive is the correct way to pronounce it, so there you go. Michael Sweat wants to know if I think we'll see the Battle of Tanab in the Han Solo movie. The canon reference book Ultimate Star Wars places the Battle of Tanab right after Han's rescue from Jabba the Hutt and before the Battle of Endor. That makes no sense to me, and Ultimate Star Wars, that book is known to have some errors. That just has to be one of them. In Legends, the Battle of Tanab took place around the Battle of Yavin, and that just makes more sense. When Han and Lando discuss it, it sounds like something that happened a long time ago, and Han was there to witness it, or he at least heard about it. So I think it makes a lot of sense that we could see the Battle of Tanab in the Han Solo movie. It could even be like the climax of the film. We get one big battle. In Legends, it was between like a pirate fleet, and I think Ultimate Star Wars even says it was a pirate fleet, so that could be cool to see Han and Lando and Chewie all fighting these pirates, and that would make a satisfying conclusion to the film, I think. Lord Hosk asks how the Republic filled out its navy in the Clone Wars. Like, where did people like Wolf Yularen come from, these non-clone officers? Well, the Republic didn't have a centralized military until the Grand Army of the Republic, but different systems did have their own kind of, I don't want to say militias, it was more official than that, but there were people out there with military experience, so when the centralized navy began, there were plenty of people that could fill those positions, and there are clone officers on those ships as well. Ben Johnson wants to know what new canon material I haven't read yet. All of the new major releases I get into on day one, so books, TV episodes, comics, of course the movies, video games, any of that stuff, day one, I'm all over it. Where I'm kind of falling down is the younger reader stuff, so it took me a while to get into Servants of the Empire. I just kept pushing it off, thinking it wasn't really worthwhile. I was totally wrong about that. I wish I had read it earlier. So Adventures in Wild Space, I haven't read that yet. I think I'm just going to wait until they're all out and then I'll blow through them. There are a few short stories that I haven't gotten to. They're loaded up on my Kindle to read. I just haven't had time, which is ludicrous because they're short stories. I should be able to make the time, but I would say 90 to 95% of the new canon I'm totally up to date with. Tim Etheridge asks a question regarding the Phantom Menace audio commentary we released this past week. And we talk about at one point the fact that all the new content that's come out is playing it fairly safe. It's all surrounding characters or events that we already know, except for maybe Dr. Aphra, but even she was introduced in the context of Darth Vader. Her storyline is still interwoven with characters that we are very familiar with. But on those same lines, since Dr. Aphra is a comic series, I see Lucasfilm using the comics as kind of a testing ground for the future. Like they go, okay, let's try a horror story in Star Wars, and they do the Screaming Citadel. And while I did not like that storyline in the end, I appreciate the fact that they did something very weird and very out there. So Tim's question is, when we get something that is completely new, like surrounding a brand new character on a brand new planet that's in the Old Republic era, he has nothing to do with the Skywalkers or the Clone Wars or anything that we've ever seen before. They're just branching out somewhere new. What kind of medium is that going to be told in? I think it has to be a comic series, because from a business standpoint, that's just where, if it fails, they're going to lose the least, because they can do a 5-issue arc, and if it fails, it's like, okay, no big deal. If they do a major release of a novel or a video game, or heaven forbid a film, and it's a major flop, like, they will take a huge loss on that. Comics, it's just less of an investment on their part. It's a safer bet where they can test something out. So I think that when we get something that is just brand spanking new, it's going to be a comic. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where I left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained goodies like the Phantom Menace audio commentary I just mentioned, or monthly giveaways, and the combined donations really go a long way in helping support the channel. On to YouTube questions. Nico asks why I like Biggs Darklighter so much. I have answered this before, but this question got a lot of likes, so I'll do it again. Biggs was kind of my first introduction into the world of filmmaking. Like, I always liked movies, but when I really got into Star Wars and my obsession began, I would see these behind-the-scenes pictures of Biggs and Luke on Tatooine, and I was like, well, we never saw that in the film, and it kind of, at a young age, I think I was 8 or 9, was introduced to this idea that there were deleted scenes. Like, filmmakers would shoot scenes that didn't wind up in the movie, and I was like, well, why is that? That just didn't make sense to me. And so, like, I started to become intrigued by this guy that only had a few lines of dialogue and dies during the Death Star run, like, knowing that he had so much more story and that we knew he was Luke's childhood friend, but we never got to see that relationship. I was just very intrigued by that. And at that time, there weren't DVD releases. There weren't deleted scenes on the DVDs or, like, audio commentaries. There was nothing. There was no internet to research this, so I would have to, like, go to the library and try to find a book about it. Or I think I remember when I finally saw the scene, it was from a CD-ROM behind-the-scenes game. So that was like a big deal that I finally got to see that Biggs and Luke scene on Tatooine, and I guess I just developed this attachment to him, and not because Biggs is like the most amazing, well-written character in all of Star Wars, but more because of what he represents, that there's more going on behind the scenes than we realize. And not just from a filmmaking perspective, but Biggs is like the perfect example of how every character in Star Wars just about has a backstory. Some people hate that aspect of Star Wars. I actually love it, but I mean, he's just a minor character, and there was so much more to him that we didn't get to see in the film. So I guess I just decided that he would be my go-to Star Wars character. And as a side note, this is a life pro tip. If you pick a minor character to be your favorite, it makes collecting so much easier. Hayden Fleming wants to know why the rebellion didn't evacuate Yavin Ford during the Battle of Yavin. Why were they all just sitting in that room waiting to maybe be blown up? I would argue that it's possible they did evacuate to some degree and we just didn't see it. Because where's Mon Mothma? She's not on the moon. They probably prioritized getting her out of there. Also, after the Battle of Scarif, I expect they were pretty light on ships. They lost a significant number of their fleet, so maybe they had no choice but to just sit there. Also, I think it's possible we might learn more about this in the Inferno Squad book. There was a preview of one of the early chapters, and it takes place during the Battle of Yavin, and it kinda sounds like there were maybe patrols around the moon, keeping ships grounded. That's not confirmed yet, that's just kind of the impression that I got, but I think we might learn more about that soon. Alexander Pavlovic asks why there was a Dinoga in the Death Star's trash compactor, and how did it get there? Again, I think we might learn an actual answer to this very soon. The upcoming book From a Certain Point of View is confirmed to have a short story devoted to the Dinoga, so we might get its backstory, find out why it's there, and find out how it got there. But for now, I will speculate. I think it's likely the Empire put the creature there. I think it might have been used to help break down the garbage before it was smashed. Or maybe it just snuck on board through another ship. We simply don't know yet, but I think we're going to find out soon. William V wants to know why the Empire didn't use Interdictor Cruisers at the Battle of Hoth. The boring answer, but the one I need to mention because I know if I don't it'll be put in the comments, is that they simply weren't created yet. No one had thought of Interdictor Cruisers at the time. But, in universe, I think they were probably there, and we just didn't see them. The Battle of Endor, we didn't see any Interdictor Cruisers there, but other stories have confirmed that they were present. So I think we're in a similar situation here, where we just didn't see them. Or maybe they were there and they got knocked out by the ion cannon, but I think they were probably there. We, again, only saw one transport escape the Battle of Hoth. I don't think that's what happened over and over. In Legends, most of the transports were captured or destroyed, so I just think they were there and we didn't see them. Captain Quinja wants to know if I think we will see Crate, that planet from the Last Jedi trailer, pop up in any other stories, since we already know that there was an old Rebel base there. Yeah, I think that's a very safe bet. I'm willing to guess that it will pop up in a comic or a book, and probably not that long after The Last Jedi is released. That's all the time I have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. I also answer questions on my Anchor station, and if you don't know what Anchor is, it's an app where I can basically upload little mini podcasts. So I'll do audio versions of my daily videos, or I will quickly review and react to new content like Forces of Destiny or comics as they come out, and I also take call-ins and I answer questions on the fly. So I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to check that out. But if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.